All right, I'm here with Derek Tye. Hey, Derek.
Hey, how's it going today?
Great. How are you?
Awesome. Can't beat the weather. Can you see it? I mean, it's
I
amazing.
know. I see you're like in your convertible there, and you're. I love Zoom. Once you
Yeah,
learn how to do the backgrounds, it's awesome.
yes, might as well have some fun with it if you're gonna do it,
I
right?
know exactly. Saw one that was Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Oh my goodness, I could get a little creative with this thing.
Exactly. Well, I wanted to have you on just because this podcast is really all about helping agents build their business and getting new and different ideas. And you've not only built a great real estate business and a team, but you're also an author for realtor, like books that help realtors. I've read both of them. Were there more than two?
Yeah, just two. Thank you.
Just two. I thought so. I was like, I've read both. Maybe there's more. They were both really good. You are a real estate coach. And so I thought people could really learn from you. So tell us a little bit about why you decided to get into real estate and kind of what
Yeah,
happened to
that's
you.
awesome. So my wife and I got married really young. I was 20 and she was 18, and we bought our first house the month before we got married, actually.
Oh,
So my
wow.
my mom was moving. I'd lived in the same house since I was born, and she's like kind of surprised me one day, like, "Hey, I'm going to move." And I was living at home because I was still in college. I was only a junior in college, and she's like, "I'm going to move." Dad and I are moving, and I was like, "What are you gonna do with the house?" She goes, "Well, I'm about to list it." They had already met with the realtor and everything, and I was like, "Well, what do you think about me and Jessica buying it?" And she's
Oh my
like,
gosh.
"How are you gonna buy a house? You're 20 years old. You're in college." I was like, "I don't want to lose my family home. I would love to buy it." And she said, "Well, if you guys can figure out how to make this work." So my wife Jessica, she worked for a small bank in town, and
Uh-huh.
she had worked there for a couple years, and she kind of sweet talked them into getting us a loan. So she actually, we both had to get a co-signer too because we were so young. So my
Did your
mom
parents
actually,
co-sign for you?
yeah, they co-signed on
Oh,
the
okay.
loan.
That's nice.
Yeah, so like they co-signed on the loan, and we didn't have a lot of cash, so she figured out a way to do gift of equity, which this small bank let us do, where they gave us like $5,000 worth of equity as part of the down
Wow.
payment. So we actually got to buy the house, and the mortgage payment I think was $600 a month. And so I've never lived in an apartment. I've never lived out on my own before. I went straight from my mom left one day, and then my wife moves in pretty much.
Nice.
So it was. Yeah, I have a weird story, but
It
yeah. So
is weird. And then came all the kids. There's
and
like
then five
what,
kids
15 of
later.
them?
Yeah, I know. We got a big group. So
Yeah.
we've been married for 24 years this year. So I'm 44 now. Can you believe it? But I feel like a kid still. And my oldest one just graduated high school. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah. So that makes you feel old. So
When did you start in real estate though? How old were you?
So I went into the corporate world right after college. I had this big idea to be a corporate president. I thought I'd be president of Cincinnati Bell or PNC Bank or one of these. And the more
Right.
I got into the corporate world after college, I realized that I'm not a corporate person. I
Why is
hate
that?
I hate the politics. I hate
Mm.
it's like this whole posturing back and forth, and you got to get into your cubicle at a certain time and leave at a certain time. If you take 5 minutes too late for lunch, or is all the butt
It's
kissing, all that stuff, I just couldn't
yeah.
handle it. And I thought, man, I've got all these cool ideas, and nobody would listen to me, and so I was very entrepreneurial, stuck in a corporate world. So my wife and I actually had sold the first house after about 5 years, and then bought another one, and then I sold that house, and so we liked real estate. We were like, "Ooh, we could
Wow.
buy and sell real estate." And after a couple experiences with other agents, they weren't terrible people by any means, but I just thought, you know what, this isn't that hard. I can do this, and I love real estate. So my wife Jessica actually got her license first in 2000. Well, she completed all the classes to do it, and then we had our first son actually premature,
Oh.
and she was scheduled to go in to get her license exam like the week before she delivered the baby. So
Oh my
she
gosh.
just stopped and she put it on hold. Well, I'm like, well, one of us should get our license. So I went and got my schooling done and then got my license. So I was actually a commercial loan officer for US Bank in 2004. Spent my first 6 months as a part-time agent, and I developed a lead generation system that nobody else had in 2004. I was using Google pay-per-click, Ask Jeeves. That
Oh
tells you
my
my
gosh, I
age.
remember Jeeves.
Yeah, Ask Jeeves and Yahoo and MSN website search. But I had
Cool.
figured out how to do pay-per-click advertising in 2004, and I redirected the Cincy MLS site was a public site. You could go on there and get listings. I figured out that they were going to switch it over to a private site, and each broker had to go and do their own broker reciprocity site. So this was, and I come from the corporate world and marketing and sales and business, and I thought, what if I competed directly with Sibsey Klein, which was the big broker in town? What if I competed directly with Coldwell Banker, Huff Realty? What would that look like? So
Right.
Derek Tye, the little one agent guy, built a website that rivaled all these other guys. I spent $10,000 on it. I actually mortgaged my house to do it.
Oh my gosh.
It's a real deal. I did. And I took a home equity line of credit out, and I got a $10,000 loan. I invested it all into website development.
That's
And I built
insane.
a website that was so good that people didn't know it really was any different than the old Cincy MLS public site. And I plagiarized in, a couple of the colors. Right, I got the kind of blue as pretty close as I could,
Right.
and
Without
so
actually
without
being.
making it, the same. I was kind of playing around with it a little bit. And I thought, if people felt comfortable being there, I just went on Google pay-per-click and I said, here's the new MLS site for Cincinnati.
Oh my
And
gosh,
people
that's
were, and
awesome.
it was totally true. I mean, I actually had the board of realtors contact me and said, well, technically you might not want to say this. And I'm like, why not? And they're like, we just don't like it. And I said, well, if you find something legally a problem with it, please let me know. And
Yeah,
I never got another letter, never got another call, because I didn't do anything wrong. I kind of closely, I mean, businesses do this all the time,
they
right?
totally do.
You find a font or a color or something and you kind of resemble it, but they weren't doing it anymore. So I wasn't competing with them. They were done. Like they
Right.
shut it off. But I was getting more leads than I could handle. So I ended up partnering up with a couple other agents in my traditional company office, Huff Realty, and they became kind of my first official buyer's agents without really having a team. So I had 3 agents at that office, plus me, plus my wife, plus I had to hire an assistant to handle all the volume of business we were doing. I was a brand new
Wow.
agent. So the first full year, I think I did 100 transactions.
That's
And so that's
awesome.
combining with these other guys. So that's kind of how I started in the business and how I got into a team kind of
Hmm.
thing.
That's cool. And then talk to us about, because did you coach first or were you writing your books first?
So basically, the kind of coaching side of it for me was, the more and more deals I started doing, the more agents I needed to hire on the team, and I kind of
Right.
felt like this, the best way to do it was to basically give them kind of like these new buyers agents, kind of like, my coaching kind of. It wasn't really an official program, but the
Right.
more and more I mentored agents, the more success they had. And a bunch of the big name agents in town that used to work on my team,
Yeah.
but there's probably 5 I can name right now that all make multiple 6-figure a year incomes that
Nice.
all were a part of. I'm not going to say I had everything to do with it. I'm not saying that.
Of course. I mean,
These,
yeah, but
these
yeah,
are great
coaching and
people.
mentorship, they still have to have the drive and they have to do the work and all that stuff. But like
Exactly.
we've had coaches before and it's like until, and we both are coaches. So it's like until a coach or somebody opens your mind to the possibilities, it's like you might not, even though you have the drive, you might not be able to see that vision for yourself.
Well, I kind of look at it this way too. Like you think about, like, a lot of people have a toolkit at home. You have a screwdriver and a hammer and a saw,
Right.
and if someone doesn't teach you how to use those tools in what order and how to use them, you have the tools, you have the project.
Right.
How do you put them together? Well, if someone doesn't show you a Phillips head screwdriver fits this specific screw, and you turn it to the right to tighten something, someone's not teaching you those things, then you could spend 6 months or a year on one little part of that trying to figure it out. Now,
Right.
obviously, that's a dumb example, but the point is there's a million tools in our toolbox as real estate agents. CRMs and marketing and advertising,
Mhm.
and do you do events? Do you not do events? Do you go to home inspections? Do you not? All those decisions that you guys have on your podcast all the time, those little things have to be taught, or you
Right.
have to fail through them several times, which is the painful way to do
Well, the coaching like shortens the process. So
it.
you're either
Exactly.
going to be like, regardless, like you yourself are going to be successful or not. And if you're going to be successful and you have a coach, you'll be successful quicker. And if you're going to fail and you have a coach, you will fail quicker.
Yeah,
you
and you
know?
kind of want to discover those things as sooner or later. I mean, think about all the
Agreed.
lessons that you wish you could go back in and learn 16 years ago and not have to go through all those. And you're like, oh my gosh, that would have been amazing if I didn't have to experience that.
Right.
Now that it all makes up who you are, but that's why people hire coaches.
Yeah. What is the book called again? The
Well,
first
the
one?
first one was called The Lord's Prayer for Entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And then the second one was The 7 Levers for Success in Selling Real Estate.
Yeah, that's the most recent one. That
Yeah.
one I was really helpful. Like if you're a newer agent, that was very like down meat and potatoes, like do this to
Yeah, I
them.
don't mess around too much in the books. I kind of just,
Yeah,
I've read books that are like 10 times longer than they need to be, and they keep reiterating the same thing over,
it's the
and you're like,
same,
okay,
right?
I get the point. Let's move on to the next topic. But I'm the kind of person I have to read every page. Like I get like in my like left to right, top to bottom. I got to read every page. That's just my
Right,
personality. So I'm like, don't waste my time. Just tell me what I need to hear. Don't tell me anything extra. If I need to go to your website to learn something more, I will. But don't keep
right.
repeating the same point over and over and over.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll either put the link like probably in the comments or something or in the post. So if
Mhm.
people want to get the book, they can. It's
Yep.
really helpful.
Thank you.
So now you moved, like you were at Keller Williams for like a long time and you just moved over to eXp. What prompted that move?
Are you struggling with what is the ideal path for you? What's next for you? There's so many options to try to figure out, and there's so many different ways that you could take your business, but it's all pretty confusing. So our coach, Coach John Kitchens, came up with a short little quiz that will help you figure out the ideal path for you. Go to realestatecareeraccelerator.com, take the free short quiz, and figure out your ideal path. That's realestatecareeraccelerator.com.
Well, as you know, I was an investor at Keller Williams, and
Right.
that took me years to achieve, like both mentally, physically, prayers, like everything else, like, time, like favors with people, like to get the opportunity to actually be an investor at Keller Williams is actually really, really hard. So I'm very appreciative that I had that opportunity, that I went through
Mhm.
that. It wasn't, at the end of the day, I think you have to align with other people, and you have to
Right.
have the same kind of vision and worldviews and ways of doing things. And I don't think anyone on the team that I left is a bad person. I don't think anyone there was doing anything bad. It was just not exactly the way I would want to conduct a business. And
Mhm.
again, these are great business people, and they're going to make a lot of money, and they're profitable. So I left a growing, thriving organization for a brand new startup kind of thing to start on my own EXP, right? So
Right.
in a lot of ways on paper, it makes no sense. Like why? And I'm getting all these phone calls, Derek. EXP is a great company, but why'd you leave this thing that you had? You had the perfect storm over here.
Right. Exactly.
And I would say like a big part of it for me was I am a very independent person. Same reason why I left the corporate world years ago. I kind of like to think my own way, do my own thing, and
Yeah.
having a lot of other people that kind of are around you that are telling you to do a certain thing a certain way, and you're kind of also assimilated with their actions. That's where I kind of started going, you know what? Again, they're profitable, they're successful. It's not something
Right.
to handle. It's just, it wasn't the way I would personally do it.
You operate, like you said, like more independently, more creatively. So I imagine like having other people is almost stifling some of that,
It's exactly
maybe.
right. It's almost like claustrophobia to me. Like,
Yeah.
like, like I think about being stuck in it. Like I actually, one of the bigger motivators I've ever had in my life is whenever I stopped prospecting, whenever I stopped thinking about
We don't
actively.
talk about not prospecting on this podcast. You know, I'm a bit, I was kidding.
Well, like
Yeah.
after all these years, sometimes you get a little burned out. You're like, man, I don't know if
Yeah.
I can make any more phone calls. But the motivator for me was thinking about going back to Cubicle City, like going back to corporate America, sitting in those four cubicle walls, no
No.
window, staring at the fabric on the walls. I mean, I can see it, I can smell it. But having that's a motivator for me. There's a carrot and there's a stick out there.
Yeah.
I'm both motivated. I like I want to buy a new, Bronco that just came out today. I love them. They're beautiful. I'm like, that's $60,000 to soup one up. So I'm carrot motivated. I'm like, ooh, that sounds awesome. But I'm
Yeah.
also stick motivated too. I don't want to go backwards and go back to that corporate environment where I felt like I was trapped in the system.
Yeah.
So,
Ugh.
so there's got to be somewhere in between where I'm at, kind of some days. So I guess my point is like, you got to have those little moments and those little experiences. Did I make a mistake by going to corporate America? No, because it also made me who I am today. And
Right.
that same way with Keller Williams, great company, great people, great philosophies, great training. Like I have nothing bad to say about it. It just, I'm a more entrepreneurial person. And
Hmm.
when I saw the model for EXP, I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity for me to have three revenue streams, for me to help other people do the same thing,
Right.
and I get to operate with a lower cap and with all these other financial benefits, and I can operate. There's no territory. Like I don't like in the old, Color
Right.
Wings and other companies, and even Remax. I looked at buying a Remax franchise years ago. You get a carved out territory, and that's kind of
Right.
where you need to operate. You need to recruit from. You need to have people in that zone. With eXp, I could be at home in Loveland, Ohio, or I could be in Blue Ash, where my office is now.
Or
I can
wherever.
operate anywhere I want,
Yeah.
and
That
that's
was one of the
empowering
reasons
people.
why me and Alan switched too, was because we do Ohio, Kentucky, and then he's been talking about getting his Florida license.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to have like a presence there, we would have to pay like exponentially more. And I was like, this makes no sense for us to do that financially. It makes no sense.
Well, and think about this too, like my, and I'm going to say this in a humble way, but like my reach has expanded outside of Cincinnati. So
Sure.
I've got a podcast, I've got, books, I've got, I've done
What's your
coaching.
podcast?
It's a Kingdom Business Breakthrough. So it's for Christian entrepreneurs to,
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Okay.
it goes along with the first book and part of my second book. I didn't write a lot about my faith in my second book, but the first book's a lot about faith and business, and that's what my podcast is about.
And that's your coaching too, is about
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, I've had Christian entrepreneurs basically ask me like, how do you balance this and this? And, like people have like these moral dilemmas, and a part of my coaching has been more what I call breakthrough coaching.
Mhm.
So the old model I used to think would work is you put someone on a monthly plan and you get them scheduled and you have so many customers every month. And honestly, it became drudgery to me. It became like I just hated it. And I did the more and more calls I did with people is like, having someone on the couch basically telling you all the problems, and you just have to like, and tell me more about that. My
Right.
brain's just like, I can't do
Yeah.
it, right? Like my patience level's gone. So what I found that I'm really good at is when people are stuck on something.
Right.
Like you asked me in that podcast a few days ago, what you gave me one specific question to answer, and
Right.
I'm boom on fire, and I love it. And I can
Yeah.
give you 3 or 4 reasons why, and here's a past experience, and like boom, boom, boom. Now you're unstuck. Not you, but with someone calling
No,
you,
I
right?
get it. Right.
And that's what I call breakthrough coaching. So I just want to be there to help you with a breakthrough. And that keeps me positive, motivated, and doing what I want to do, keeps them like not feeling like they're committed for a long period of time. So I've been changing kind of the new way of thinking about the coaching model to almost like, it's like the telemedicine almost.
Yeah. Right.
I got a cough, doctor. What do you think's wrong with me here?
I like it because that makes a lot of sense. It's like, whenever you are stuck, you just want to have that person or the people that you can like reach out to, and who better than your coach that knows you, that,
And that's what I'm doing. I have my own coach too. And I'll give you an example.
Of
So
course you do. We all do if we're coaches.
exactly. So this guy does the same model, and I think that's part of the, I kind of plagiarized it, like I told you from earlier. I don't mind plagiarizing stuff, but basically it's rip off and duplicate R&D, right?
Right.
So he lets you pay whatever you feel like his services are worth per month as a retainer. Literally,
Okay.
it just comes out automatically once a month, and whenever you need him, you schedule a calendar appointment with him for 45 minutes. You hash through your issue, and then you're gone again, whether that's once a week, once a month.
That's
And
awesome.
people don't abuse it. They they respect this guy and his time. So I'm not going to tell you what I pay per month, but let's just say it's, let's just use a number, $1,000. If I paid $1,000 a month to him, that's not my number, but let's just say it was,
Yeah.
then maybe I feel like that's worth 3 calls a month
Right.
in my mind. Or maybe I think it's worth 1 breakthrough call for 20 minutes, or maybe the 1 tip he gives me in 15 minutes pays for that. But I kind of like, and I'm not saying that everyone should have that model, but I'm saying it's worked for me and this coach over the last 2 years. He's gotten me unstuck. He gets this monthly retainer. I haven't talked to him for 4 months because I haven't felt like I was stuck and I really required anything.
Right.
Now I've got a call scheduled with him. It took me, now he's really popular. So it took me 2 weeks to get on his calendar, but now I've got this call coming up in 2 weeks. I have another business coach I do the same thing with. I gave him a large chunk of money for an annual membership into his program.
Yeah.
I've only had like 3 coaching calls with this guy in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
But the 2 hours I've spent with him on the phone have changed my life.
That's awesome.
So, and that's a very expensive per hour call. Well,
It is, but you're right. It's about finding the right fit for what you're going through. And that does ebb and flow. So like when they call me and talk about coaching, like sometimes our coaching is not a good fit. Maybe yours would be a good fit, or maybe Monica's is a good fit, or like whoever, right? But it's like matching those where people with where they are in their business and what they're looking to accomplish.
Exactly. I was with MAPS coaching. I was paying $1,000 a month. And my coach was like one of the best coaches in the entire system. She became like a supervisor and all this stuff. But I never felt like it was right for me. Like it's like she had all the stats, she had coached all these people, and we got along fine, but I did not look forward to the calls. I kind of, it was almost, again, drudgery to me. It was like, I call it a grind. Like, you don't want to do things, you can grind for so long on something and then you just get fatigued.
Right.
I feel like it's got to be like this, like you and I are having this conversation right now. I feel like there's good energy. We've got good ideas. We're flowing back and forth. But if you're not feeling like that with somebody, then you probably need to find a different relationship.
Agreed. Yeah. Because that's especially for coaching, you want your brain to open up. I mean, that's the entire point of it. You want to have ideas, be able to execute those ideas, and then report back also on how they were, so you can tweak them if you need to.
Well, it's just like firing a real estate client. I mean, I don't know about you, but there's been clients where I'm like, every time this phone rings and it's that person, I'm like literally like about to get sick in my stomach.
Right.
I'm just a very honest, straightforward person, right? So at some point, I'm like, it comes up for a renewal or they want to list another property. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not interested in knowing the business. So you either like, you got to find a way out of this thing. Like, okay, so the commission rate's now 7.5%. They're like, why'd it go up? It's like, this is just our new pricing, I'm sorry. Yeah. So now they're going to choose someone else. That's okay. No problem.
That's fine.
Let them make the decision. So
I just get in there.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if we can handle each other anymore. Yeah. Maybe I'm not as direct as I think I am, but like,
yeah, that sounded very passive aggressive, Derek.
But maybe at 7% it would have been worth it. What I mean?
Yeah, that's true. You're right. That makes sense. Well, I really appreciate you chatting with us. And I know people are going to take a lot away from this, and they have a lot of things to look up too. So we'll put all the appropriate links. And then if they want to contact you, is it okay if they reach out through Facebook?
Oh, sure. Facebook's fine, or any other way.
LinkedIn, whatever.
So yeah, my one website has most of all of our products on it. So if you
okay, then we'll put that page up there.
It's got my books, the podcast, everything all on one website. So I try to keep
it does. You're so organized.
It's even my name. It's stupid simple, so.
I love it. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, Derek. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Hi guys, Monica Weekly here. You know how you're supposed to post about real estate every single day on Facebook? Yes, you do. And the reason is, if we don't remind our Facebook friends what we do for a living and how we help people, they will forget about it. We know it's our job to inform, educate, and demonstrate what we do for a living. Well, I'm coaching agents all around the country, and they understand that, but they're not doing it. And I asked them, why aren't you doing it? Probably just like you. And they said, Monica, we don't know what to post. Can we just borrow your stuff? Because I love creating Facebook posts. And these can often be used over on Instagram as well. So I said yes, and people were borrowing my stuff. So I created finally a product that you can sign up for free. It is free, guys. There is no reason for you not to sign up for this. It's ghostposter.com, GHOSTPOSTR, no E in there, just TR.com. And what you're going to get is you're going to get a Facebook posting idea to your email every single day. So not only do you have this great idea, but you've been reminded, oh yeah, I need to post. And that's Monday through Friday. And if you don't love the post, or you think, gosh, I'd like something else, well, you're also going to get access to a library of over 600 different posts for you to choose from by category. You're going to love it. Go sign up, ghostposter.com. Don't waste a minute. And then be sure to join the private Facebook group. All right, I'll see you in there.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a podcast.